Well, it's not every day that your post-secondary classes take place inside of a prison, but the InsideOut program is a unique prison exchange model that brings together inside students who are incarcerated with outside students from a traditional university setting to learn and grow with one another. Here today to discuss the program is Nicola Harwood and Chris Thompson, instructors from Kwantlen Polytechnic University who have been leading the InsideOut course at the Surrey Pretrial Services Centre. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
So tell us about the InsideOut program. It originated in the U.S.?
Yeah, I'll let Nicola take on this. It originated in the U.S. With a woman named Lori Pompau, I think, from Graterford Prison, and she taught a course in one of the penitentiaries there. Just took a course in university, and the warden was so impressed because the inmates said, "This is fantastic." She literally developed it herself, and it's been going on for I think 25 or 30 years, and she's. There's a whole training program with it. It's morphed into all over North America now. So it's been around for a bit. And I think Lori, I think the last name Pompau is really, she spearheaded this whole thing. Just one person, one course. It was quite something.
So what's unique is that the students, we're bringing half of the cohort in from the university, half of the cohort are students who are incarcerated, and they learn together as peers.
Mm-hmm. What does a typical day look like in a non-traditional environment like this?
Boy, well, you have to gain entry first to the institution, which means you have to have a tag, which means you're going to be escorted. This time we did the whole course in a very cold gymnasium, and so we would set up in there and set up the chairs in a circle, and then the inside students will be escorted in.
Nicola, what do you watch unfold when students from all walks of life come together? I would assume there might be a bit of nervousness or naturally some preconceived notions on both sides.
Yeah, and the students are pretty honest. Our first classes are separate, so we'll meet with the inside students and talk to them, and they might have some questions, and then meet with the outside students. And so that very first class when they come together, people are pretty anxious about being judged, about being afraid, about just the difference in the room. And so InsideOut teaches, and also the methodology that we use, a lot of interactive games and exercises and work together so that the students, we start to break down those differences quite soon. We start to build community is really one of the very first things that takes place in the classroom. And often by the end of the first session, students are laughing and talking together, and by the middle of the course, they're pretty darn comfortable. It's really quite lovely to see.
Obviously, this is designed as a peer-to-peer exchange program. How do you see both sides benefit from this program?
Well, we heard it a number of times from inside and outside students both saying, we thought you were going to judge us, and the outside students that you were going to judge us as just being straight and we didn't know anything, we hated prisoners, and the outside and the inside students probably just hated us, and neither happened, but they both feared the other one judging them, and within first session or so they went, no, you guys aren't judging us, we're not judging you. And one of the there are some pretty strict rules, and one of them is that there's no sharing of last names. There's no contact. You can't contact afterwards. Once the program's over, it's over. So we're pretty strict about that because everybody's vulnerable, the inside and the outside students, for anything, and we want to minimize any chance of that. So those rules are pretty hard, and everybody appreciated that. So there's an anonymity to it in terms of last names.
Okay. What kind of benefits do you notice?
Well, I think I see the stereotypes really start to drop away, and the rigid thinking a lot, that students sometimes go in with. And also I think I see sometimes for the inside students the opportunity to be known in a different way, because lots of times people will start to internalize the labels, and they're, when they're involved in the justice system. They've maybe made bad decisions, who knows, they've probably dealt with some harsh breaks in life, and we start to take that on as an identity. Mm-hmm. And for the inside students, that identity can become very fixed and very reinforced constantly by the system, mm-hmm. and then become self-perpetuating. And so I think that's an opportunity. It's like you can be in this room, you can take part in exercises, you can exercise your intellect, you can exercise your wisdom, because there's probably a lot in the room. We really often bank on the lived experience of the students, and as part of the teaching model. And people start to see themselves as wise, as funny, as likable, as belonging, and I think can be transformational. There's an opportunity for someone to go, oh, I'm more than this label. Yeah. And I think for the outside students, it's a very growing up experience. They start to really understand themselves in a broader context, and if they're going into any kind of service work in corrections or law enforcement or a justice system, they will have a more humane understanding of folks who are they may be dealing with at the other end of the spectrum. So hopefully it just creates a little more humanity and connection, and opportunity and potential gets ignited. That's always the hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I meant to add that, and Nicola talked about labeling. The other thing, we don't know what they're in for. And that's a key part of not labeling and judging. So that was really a big part of this. It's just first name. You're here, waiting trial or waiting discharge, but we have no idea what you're in for. And that's a big part of it, because you can see how people could quickly judge others. And so that keeps it all equal, and it keeps it on a very, friendlier situation. It's just first name, I'm here, you're here, we're here together, and we're not judging one another in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm. You guys talk about, obviously, the stigma that is involved with people who are incarcerated. How do you think an educational opportunity like this can eventually help one, transition back into society?
Well, the opportunity for learning in the institutions isn't that large, but I think when you have this positive experience, when the opportunity comes, they can go, I'm more than just an inmate, I'm more than the label I have or whatever criminal record I might have. And I think that positivity can result in some of them maybe going out. It could be any kind of course. What they know after this is that they can learn. It's not about marks, it's not about what you did in school years ago or what you didn't do. It's about you can learn, and you just proved it. And so you do have a chance to do something. You can do something with yourself, whatever course it might be, or just more learning. Just be more than kind of what you were when we saw you.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing, something we actually talked about a fair bit in this particular course we taught restorative justice was our topic that we just wrapped up. This idea of belonging being a very primary driver for all of us, the need to belong. And so for folks to feel like they belonged in this temporary and kind of, highly structured community, but very positive, pro-social community where you can be a part of this world and belong here and be welcome and be a valued member of that culture. I think for folks to have just a taste of that lived experience and go, oh, there's this other place and I can actually belong there. Because I think that, incarceration, the stigma, all those things start to narrow the path of belonging, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Where do I belong? Especially if I'm street involved, drug involved, crime involved, I belong in that world. And our greater society does a good job of shuffling people down the road to where they belong. Mm-hmm. And so I think we offer an opportunity to experience, and that's very important, it's very experiential, to experience a sense of belonging in a completely different context. That really sometimes pops people's heads open. It's like, oh, I'm actually good at this. And
it sounds like they almost gain a new perspective of themselves that they may have not otherwise seen had it not been for the course. The program itself sounds fascinating, and I want to thank you both for coming here and offering some insight on what it's like. And next semester, you guys are going to do the program again, I understand?
At this point, we have the funding to run it once a year, fingers crossed. Yeah. And that's an improvement. It used to be really basically run off the side of a desk with faculty, applying for grants to get the money to pay for the costs of the program. But we have some commitment from the Faculty of Arts at KPU right now. So we're hoping to keep increasing and look for more external funding to support the program,